Are live. Hi, everyone. Okay, we have a small delay, so everyone who's watching, we're gonna have a couple of seconds delay. That's what Google does. So just as a bit of a head start. For those, just while we are in the launch, so we're gonna start straight 9 p.m. So do me a quick favor and well, get familiar with the page. I think it's really, really simple. You have a little bit of a chat box in the middle, so you can log in with Facebook or Twitter. There we go. Awesome. So if there's any problems with inside the PowerPoint, then you can just let me know and write in the chat box. Then Bettina can always catch it. She's the host. She has the chat box and have all this. So everyone, welcome to this webinar. We're going to go around 45, 50 minutes. I want to leave a lot of time for questions because I think it should be very interactive, and that's why it's important that you post in there or post in the little chat box. Some really quick tips. We have shared them before, but I just want to quickly summarize them. If you have people that are missing out something and you would love to tell them, there's buttons on the left and right side of the video, so you can share the webinar. If you want to connect with us on social media, you can do this on the left. You have the blue chat box. And on the very bottom, okay, there's an email box. Now, if you haven't filled in your email already to register for the webinar, you can do this now, and I'll send you this PowerPoint as a summary to this email address. So then you have this. If you want, of course, we're also going to record this, and you're going to get a 2-day. So we have for 2 days, we have the recap, the replay. So you can watch this again, this replay, but you also have the summary, so you can get massive value out of this. Now, today's topic is 3 things that, in my opinion, every college graduate should actually learn in college, but probably doesn't. And the big challenge with this is that many college graduates get out of college, and this doesn't only have to do with college, it means with general education, higher education. Their education is very professional, it's very specific. They are many times experts in their field. This field many times is STEM-oriented. What does that mean? It's science, technology, engineering, math. These are education systems that are very strong and very targeted in our environment. So very theoretical, very detail-oriented. Then what happens is many people face challenges, especially when they build up families, when they look for, how can I learn something new? I would be interested in this and this. How can I find people that I can do this with? How can I actually find the time besides my job, besides having to earn money, of course? And so they would love to try something new. And yeah, but on the other hand, it's so challenging to do that. And so maybe would love to ask yourself, maybe you could post into the chat box if you could identify yourself a little bit with this. Is this something that you would see as a challenge? Can you identify yourself with at least a couple of things? Now, you might be listening to this and you might be saying, okay, Julian, why are you holding this webinar actually? Why do you think that you are the person that's qualified to do that? Well, let me tell you this. I had a very professional education. I went to the US, had good grades. I studied medicine. If you know that, then you know that. If you don't, then I studied medicine. I graduated. I had good grades. I focused a lot on these really things, what you would call traditional good education. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with this, and I would do it again. The biggest challenge I had was that I was a professional kite surfer, and I love traveling. I love having fun. I love going out. I love to be free, if you want to call it. And so I realized quite quick, holy crap, my traditional education is probably not going to allow me to be free to kite surf, to travel, and do all those fun things. So when I was 24 years old and I was working in a hospital, I realized, okay, I need to learn new skills. I need to learn new things. I need to acquire these things. And trust me, many people, when I told them about this, they told me, you are an idiot. You should stay a medical doctor. You should stay a surgeon. That's what you trained. Why do you even try to go a different path? And so this was one of the key inspirations of writing this book, 25 Stories I Would Tell My Younger Self. And today, I would love to talk to you about the 3 skills that I would find are really some of those skills that I had to develop at the age of 24 that really allowed me actually to learn, to move away from being a medical doctor and being actually able to learn any new skill and any new thing. And so these are 3 things that you will see are very easy to understand, are very easy to grab, and you can apply them in everyday life. And that's the really great thing. And those 3 things are very simple. The first thing is, it's the law of average of the 5 people. Now, many of you might notice, many of you might not, and we're going to go into this. The second thing is, you need to learn to build a vision for your mind. If you don't know how to build a vision, and I'm going to show you how this works, you don't know where to go. And the third thing you need to learn is step by step, you need to build scalable income. If you don't do this, you will just always be stuck in having to work, and then you cannot replace your time doing something else, actually executing the other skills. So what we're going to do now in the next 40 minutes, we're going to go through those 3 things step by step. For some of you, that's going to be a bit mind-bending. For some of you, that's going to be super easy. So let's get started. Now, the first time I learned about the law of the average of the 5 people, and for those of you that are reading my book or have been reading my book, it's the Paul story. I was a professional surfer, and all my friends around me were surfers, and we had a lot of fun. We all had around the same income, same lifestyle, just like surfers are. And so at one day, at an airline lounge, I was traveling from one competition to another, I met a guy called Paul. And I didn't know that back then, but he was a multi-millionaire from Switzerland. And so total coincidence, he starts talking to me. And so he says, so what do you do? And I told him I'm a professional surfer, and I didn't ask him many questions. So we just chatted and we stayed in touch. And so when I came home after my flight, he hooked me up on Skype and we started chatting a bit. And at some point, he started asking me these really strange questions. He asked me, so what are my goals? What is my vision after my sport? Where do I want to be in the next 5 years? Where do I want to be in the next 10 years? And then he made these little goals with me. He said, okay, if I do X, Y, Z, then he would upgrade me to a free business class flight. Or if I would do this, he would invite me to go to a soccer game with him somewhere. So these were all little weird things to me back then, because to me it was, on the one hand, I was a bit afraid. You need to understand, he was at the age around 55, 60 years old, and I was at that age 22, 23. So, I met him as a stranger, so you feel a bit weird. But so actually this was all unfounded, because he truly wanted to help me. And what he did was, step by step, he tried to increase my level of belief. He tried to instill new ideas into me. He became a person that I spent a lot of time with because he was interested in helping me to grow as a person. Back then, I didn't notice so much, but so over the time, he was the influence that really helped me to grow. And so what I would love you to do right now is to really look at what this actually means, what he did to me, and what I, from that point on, realized it was so important. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So what does that mean? That means, let me give you a quick exercise. We just do it with a very simple one. Think, who are your 5 people you spend the most time with? Maybe take out your phone, have it on your computer, close Facebook right now, stop browsing with other things, focus on this right now. I know it's weapons of mass destruction, so really focus. And now, really think, okay, so who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? Now for me, back then, my ex-girlfriend, was my best friend, it was 2 kite surfing buddies, and it was back then my dad. Why? Because we talked a lot, we chatted a lot, and we were on Skype. So these were the 5 people. Now, I don't know who it is for you. Ask yourself, take a bit of time, think about it. Now, here's my challenge. Ask yourself, are you a smoker? Are the 5 people smokers? What is the weight of these 5 people? Are they overweight? Are they underweight? Of course, if your friends are all women and you're the only guy, chances are they are lower than you. If you're a girl and you have more guy friends, well, that means they are, of course, are higher. But look at the same sex. Then, of course, you can do, what are their jobs? Which industry are they in? And my favorite example is, write down your monthly income and then write down the average of the 5 people's income. And the mind-blowing challenge is, many times, this income is almost the same. You are the average of the 5 people. And this is not coincidence. This comes from education. This comes from an instilled, and I'm not even talking about school education. I'm talking about, this comes from when we were cavemen or cavewomen, and we went and we want to stay in a herd. We had to protect ourselves. So it was not the idea that one goes outside of the herd and be the only one. No, everyone had to fit in and adapt in. So we have this natural tendency to adapt to each other. And this is very, very typical and very, very traditional. So in school, I've never learned about that because it was very natural. I was in medical school, of course. I was going to be around medical doctors, and I was around medical doctors. And the only way I could get out of this was by myself getting around other people. And when I realized that, and I realized that I wanted to learn something new, what I did was I was looking for more people that were in that field that I was getting into. So what does that mean for you? What that means for you is maybe those 5 people that you spend the most time with are not actually physical people. I don't know how your social media channel looks like, but you know, your social media channel adapts to what you're looking for. It's a social media bubble. Maybe I've heard of this. Facebook timeline suggests you things based on what you have been looking for. So over time, you're building this auto-reflective bubble where, okay, so you look, for example, you look for a lot of travel things. So Facebook automatically gives you more and more travel things. So what happens is you're living in this travel thing bubble. Or if you're looking for a lot of, if you are in the medical field like I was, well, over time, Facebook gives you more and more and more medical stuff. And you're living in this medical bubble. So you're auto-suggesting that you are in the right bubble. Now, this happens with literally anything. So that's really important. So what do you see on there? For example, when I realized this, I had to unfollow a lot of medical things back then and add a lot of business things. This starts with these small things because Facebook to me was like a new partner. It was one of those things that I spend a lot of time with. It also depends on what YouTube channels you're watching. Of course, it has to do with your friends and family. It also has a lot to do with your business partner. Of course, many of those things you cannot change, or very difficult. But some things are very simple to change. For example, the people you follow on social media. For example, YouTube, which channels do you subscribe? Instagram, and so on. That has a huge, huge influence on you. And what this influence is exactly that you are looking for working in groups, in cohorts where you want to get to. So this means if you're watching this webinar and at the very beginning where I asked you these questions, are you interested in learning a new skill? Are you interested in learning to find new people? What this means is you need to look for people that are in this interested field. So if you are, for example, like I was in medicine and I want to get into business, what I had to do was, on the one hand, clean up my social media. On the other hand, I was looking for people who were in business already. If you are here and you want to start a new business or you want to do something different, you want to learn a new sport, the best thing to do is surround yourself with people that are there where you already are. And I have, in my book, I write a full chapter about this actually. It's a star system for people. And I'm not going to go into detail here because I could talk a whole webinar just about a star system. But what this means is anyone that is around you, you need to classify these people in a star system from 1 to 5, where 3 is equal than you are in a certain field. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with money. It doesn't have anything to do with anything specific. It just means that value, you and the other person are very equal. Now, I'm pretty sure you understand what I mean. You will always have people where you feel like, oh my gosh, you know, like, I don't know what this person can give to me. I mean, it's nice to be around this person, but that person is like, yeah, I don't know, it's just on a different level. And then you will have people who be like, oh my gosh, you know, that person is where I would love to be at, right? So if you are a 3-star and you always put yourself 3 stars, that means, okay, it's very difficult for you to reach a 5-star because a 5-star, you're going to be like a 1-star to them, right? So who you are really looking for is the 4 stars. So I give you a quick example. In the past 6 months, for those of you that have been following me on the Facebook and so on, you know, okay, I've been really digging into blockchain technology and all these new technologies. So what did I do? Well, in May was the first time I really took this serious. And so I said, you know what, this is a very interesting field. I want to understand how this technology works, how cryptology works, how all these high-tech things work. So what did I do? I tracked down people who were not the experts in that field because they don't care about me, right? I'm like this super newbie. So what they did, what I did was I looked for people who were quite good in the field, but still low enough, if you want to call it like low enough, right, with apostrophes, that they would talk to me and I could exchange ideas with them. And so I went to meetups, I went to events, searched that, looked for YouTube videos, and so on. And so within 6 months, I really consider myself in Hong Kong as one of the people who knows, not the most, but I know really a lot about blockchain technology. I understand the cryptology behind it. And this is just within 6 months, right? And so this is so high already that companies even started looking into recruiting me for the blockchain technology in 6 months. Imagine this. So if I can do this in blockchain technology, you can do this in anything you would be interested in. You just have to understand the average of the 5 people. And this is the really key thing. Now, of course, if it was that easy, you would be doing it already, or everyone around there would be applying those things really clearly. So let's say you're here and you are interested. Let's start with something very simple. Let's say you're a smoker and you would love to stop smoking. Or let's say you are a binge eater or overeater and you would love to eat less. Now, of course, it would be so easy to just say, okay, you know what, from one day to the other, all my 5 friends around me, they're non-smokers, and all the friends I had yesterday, I'm going to kick them out. Of course, that's not going to happen. And the very simple reason for that is because of social and peer pressure. Sure, if you have been with your friends for 20 years or with your wife or husband for 20 years, you're not going to just replace that person from one day to the other. And that's not the idea, actually. So I want to be really clear here. It's not the idea here that you never see your parents anymore because your parents are on your low end on the average of the 5 people. That's not the idea. The idea is that you look for people that you have in this certain field. For example, you want to lose weight. You have one person who always goes running in the morning. And of course, with this, over time, you're also going to get more fit. You're also going to start more running. If you want to start a new sport, let's say you want to start climbing. Well, it's not going to make much sense if you look for the best climber around because he's not going to care about you. But if you find someone who is climbing quite well, but is still open to work with someone that's like quite a novice, then definitely hook onto that. That is the key thing. If you want to start a business, well, then look for people that have started a business already. It's probably going to be difficult to talk to someone who's super successful already because they're just not going to care because they have so many other problems and so many other challenges. One of the most important things here is there's a very interesting psychologist, and she set up the 5 stages of saying goodbye. And it's actually, she had German roots. Her name is Kübler, and she worked in the pathology in the hospital where a lot of people were dying. And so, especially in the moment when patients heard about that they were dying, she realized that these people went through the 5 stages of saying goodbye. And I've been working with this average of the 5 people with many, many people in the past years. And so when I worked with business, when we set up huge networks in Hong Kong, and every single time I taught people about this, they also went through those 5 stages. And if you're hearing this for the first time right now, then you are maybe in stage 1, that is ignorance. So that means you hear me say it, but you don't listen because you say, no, it doesn't really affect me. Well, that's the same with patients. They don't listen to that they are dying. They don't accept it. Stage 2 is anger. Anger means, okay, sure, you start realizing what's happening. And at some point, you're like, nah, you get super upset. Why is it this way? Why does it work this way? No, you don't want that. And you start getting angry and you start getting upset. Well, the next stage is, stage 3, is bargaining. So you start bargaining. Maybe I can keep 5 people. Maybe I can add a 6th person. No, it doesn't work this way. But you start bargaining. Or maybe it is not completely correct in this. Or maybe I'm not dying. Maybe my cancer is not killing me. This is, of course, the stage for hospitals. Then stage 4, you get depressed. And depressed is not in a negative way. It just means you get sad because you realize, holy crap, this is how it is. This is how I have to do it. And then at some point, stage 5 is acceptance. And so what I would love you to do, especially when you have your goals and when you have, okay, I want to learn something new, then follow those things, and you can adopt those things quite simple. Understand that you're going to be stuck in certain stages. Some of you are going to be very easy, especially some of you have heard this before. Then it goes really quick and goes really, really simple, straightforward. So what I would love you to do now is think about who of the 5 people around you pull you down the most. Now, in my case back then, one of my kite surfing buddies, he pulled me down the most. And if you read the book, you will read that he got me into drugs. When I was in Brazil, he was the reason why why I almost had developed a drug addiction. And so I realized that I had to replace him. I'm still in touch with him, but I had to spend less time with him. And on the other hand, I wanted to go into new fields. So I was looking for a new person that I could start spending more time with. If you are interested here to develop a new skill, develop something new, many times people ask, where do I get started to do that? Here. You are the average of the 5 you spend the most time with. This can be tied to money, can be tied to knowledge, and can be tied to anything else. This will be my first skill, and this is my first thing that, in my opinion, colleges, high schools, universities, they should teach this to anyone, because even if people don't want to leave their field, let's say you want to stay a doctor, let's say you want to stay a lawyer, let's say you want to stay a professional, they should teach that to you. Hang around 5 people. It doesn't make sense to hang around 5 people that are like twice as good as you are, because they don't care about you. But try to work your way up by being around people who already walk the walk that you want to walk, because that makes you successful. Good. I hope that makes sense. We're going to pause the screen share really quick. I'm going to jump over. Whoa, we have 38 viewers. Okay, wonderful. Let me go to the webinar. I haven't seen that here. So let's see who is in there. I just want to check here. Yeah, it's getting a bit sweaty here. So any questions that came up? Okay, wonderful. Hey, Angela, so great to have you from Arizona. Wow, it's so early there. That's really nice. Good. So anything? That's good. No questions? Then we can continue. Otherwise, you let me know. It's good. Some of the 5. Oh, wow. Cool. Wow. I'm so proud. That's really, really great. That sounds good. Really happy. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's so wonderful. Good. It was the skill that was the biggest mind opener to me. So yeah, that was it for me. Cool. So we go to the next skill. That was a really important one as well. Actually, they're all really, really important. So gonna switch back. Here we go. Good. Next one is, go the wrong way. Vision building is the next one. So first one was the average of the 5 people. Second skill that you have to develop, and this is so important, is you need to build a vision for yourself. And I want to tell the story in the same exercise that you are. So I was there. I understand that I want to achieve something. I wanted to change a lot of things in my life, and I didn't know how to do it. And so I learned, okay, I had to be around the right people. So I was around Paul, and Paul had a really good influence on me. He was the right person. He was a level 5. He was a 5-star, if you want to call it. And I was a 3-star to him, or a 1-star to him. But he really wanted to help me. He saw I was hungry, that I wanted to do it. And so he got me to a seminar in Switzerland, in Zurich. He was Swiss, so he got me there. And we had to do a course there. And so it was a 3-day, two-day, I'm not 100% sure now, but I think it was a 2-day seminar, Saturday and Sunday. And so we were there 2 days. I believe maybe it was a 3-day, so it doesn't matter. It was a weekend seminar, let's say it like this. And on one of those days, the speaker said, okay, so we've done a lot of work now. What I would love you to do, sit down and imagine you win the lottery and you make $10,000 a month, guaranteed for the lifetime. Now, for me at that time, I was making maybe $1,900 a month. So around $20,000, $25,000 a year net after taxes. So pretty average, maybe a bit above, maybe a bit below, depending on the area you're from. So I was well off. And then he said, okay, imagine you make 10K a month. I was like, wow, 10K a month. Okay, so 3 things you would do. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to buy a nice car. Because I had a Volkswagen, quite an old one, a black, really old one with a little a little flattery roof. I mean, that thing was pretty scary. And so, yeah, I had the vision, okay, I want to have a nice car. And my dream car was an Audi A7. So Audi A7. Okay, so that was my first thing. My second thing I wanted was, I wanted to buy an apartment. I always dreamed of buying some real estate, and I wanted to buy an apartment that I could have some backup safety. I think that was really important. And the third thing, I wanted to either travel or save some money for worse times, for bad times, right? That makes sense. 3 things. So one nice car, have an apartment either for myself or so I could rent it out, and then save some money to be safe. And if I have some left over, maybe travel a little bit. Cool. I don't know. Think about it. What would you do? 10K a month coming in, maybe post it in the chat or maybe write it down. So these are the 3 things. 10,000 a month. Well, so literally anyone in the group there wrote down similar things. And then the speaker said, oh my gosh, these are the least creative things he has ever heard. But everyone in the group, wherever he goes, writes down similar things. And the reason is because most people, they don't think big enough and they don't think about what could be possible. Especially with 10K a month that you are guaranteed to get for your lifetime, it doesn't make much sense for yourself to live scarce, to buy an apartment for backup, to save some money for backup, to buy a car which was maybe 70, 80,000. Why? Because within 6-7 months I would have paid it. So he said, you guys are thinking way too little. You need to think a lot bigger. Okay, wow. So that was a big slap there. And then he started to say, okay, now you guys need to make everything bigger. You need to have a bigger vision for yourself. You need to understand where you're actually going. And you need to put this down in clear, precise, measurable things. But don't think small, he said. If you think, then you can just as well think big. It's the same effort, whether you say you want to have $10,000 a month, or whether you want to have $100,000 a month, or you want to have $1 million a month. For those of you that listen to this and say, you know what, money, I don't really care so much about money per se. Well, I don't know. Think about something that you really want to have, a true vision, and then make it down clearly, precise, and measurable. Now, here's important. I'm not asking you to make a time limit to that, because that for many people is super scary. If I would ask you, okay, imagine you would love to have your beautiful car. By when do you want to have it? And many, many people start struggling saying, I want to have it within the next year. And this is very scary. So for a long time, and before I was at the seminar, I always made a time limit. And the speaker there said, you can do a time limit. But the biggest problem with the time limit is that if you miss your goal and it becomes a goal, many people get super discouraged. And they get so discouraged that afterwards, they never set a vision anymore. And I would love to ask you, has any one of you ever set yourself a goal and then missed that goal and then became super discouraged? Now, if you look at me, and I know you can't see me right now, but I'm raising my hand because I have been there, done that. I got super discouraged. And it happens almost every year because I set myself clear goals with a time limit and I miss it and I get discouraged. Here, I'm not saying you shouldn't set yourself goals. I think goals are really important. But what I first of all would love you to do is have a vision that is more long-term and is a clear direction into what you are doing. And this was such an eye-opener back then because I always thought, okay, if I wanted to have something, okay, either I do nothing or I set myself goals, and with a goal, I time that, and when I time it and I miss it, I get discouraged, and then afterwards I say, you know what? Last year, I set myself a goal that I want to buy a new car, and I'm going to do it by the end of the year, and then I miss it, and you know what? I'm not going to do it anymore because I'm so down that I don't do it. And then I don't set a goal at all anymore. Okay, so let's not do this white and black or black and white. Let's just say the direction where we want to go. Okay, so we want to set a direction where we want to go. And there's a very scientific approach to that, and there's a less scientific approach to that, and I'm going to tell you both, and you pick the one that convinces you the most. The first one is, what you think about, you bring about. Now, this is a very famous quote, and you can start, if for those of you that have read The Secret, you can think about the universe and what you send out to the universe brings back to you. So you have a clear vision what you want. This is what you get back. For those of you that are extremely scientific, like myself, I am extremely scientific, right? And so if someone explains me something and I cannot rationalize everything behind it, I don't listen, I don't believe it. So for those of you that understand quantum theory, you understand that your thoughts affect what's actually happening. For those of you that don't understand quantum theory or don't care, you just have to, it's the same thing as with in The Secret, when someone explains, okay, what do you think about, you bring about, you send out something to the universe and you get something back. For those that are more scientific, well, quantum theory. It's the observer effect. Just by observing something, you affect what's happening. So the first thing that I did when I went home from that seminar was I made up one very specific, one important goal that I wanted to achieve. But really important, I had a goal without the time limit, because the presenter there said, if you have been discouraged in the past by setting goals and then you're missing it and then you don't set goals anymore, why set a time limit? Why stop doing everything? That doesn't make sense. Just remove the time limit and see what happens. So what I did was I set the goal that I wanted to have a super nice Audi A7. I knew exactly how much it was. It cost me 69,000 euros back then, 69,000 euros. I wanted it in white, super nice leather. I knew exactly what I wanted. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't write down when I wanted to have it. Now, you will hear a lot of people, and probably some of you, screaming here. They're like, oh my gosh, this goes against everything. This goes against every theory that is out there. Maybe, but you know what? I put the picture of my car with a price tag on my vision board, and I looked at it every day. I didn't pressure myself about when I wanted to have it, but I thought about it every single day. And then what happens is your mind starts priming itself. And if you are someone who wants to take action, now this is really important. If you just put a picture there and you do nothing, then of course nothing is going to happen. But if you're willing to take action and you remind yourself over and over every day that this is what you want, well, your mind starts priming yourself. And you can do something that many people that are high performers would say this has been a breakthrough in their life. And that is the key most important thing that they want to have. They write it down 15 times a day. Now listen to this. To me, I want to have an Audi A7. I wrote down, I, Julian Hosp, own an Audi A7. I, Julian Hosp, own an Audi A7. I, Julian Hosp, own an Audi A7. I didn't write in the future, I wrote in the present, so I own the Audi A7. I wrote that down over and over and over again. I didn't set a time limit, but I was really clear that I wanted to have it. Now what happened was, suddenly I started realizing certain patterns that allowed me step by step to get my Audi A7. Again, if I would just write this down and then sit on my hands and say, you know what, my Audi A7 is going to come by myself and drive to me, of course, it's never going to drive. It's never going to come to me. But I was an action taker. I was willing to take action. I primed my mind, and you can do this. You can explain this with a lot of ways, whether you are very scientific or non-scientific. There's hundreds of ways to explain it. I primed my mind that this is what I wanted to have. And believe me, a year later, and those of you that know me from back then, I know some of you are on the webinar, you know me when I had my black Volkswagen, and you know me the day that I bought my Audi A7. White, black leather, 69,000 euro configuration. Now, of course, you can say, Julian, you're nuts. This is just pure luck. You would have done that without writing it down the 15 times. Well, I'm not sure. I am not sure. You know what? I've done this over and over and over again. For example, at the beginning of this year, I had a goal, and I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. This is something that I could not explain at all. I wrote down the goal that at the end of the year, I want to be less than 80 kilos. Now, I'm quite fit already, I know, but I wanted to be less than 80 kilos. And I didn't say that I wanted to have it at the end of the year, but I wrote down I want to be less than 80 kilos. And I was quite, I mean, to me, it was at the end of the year, but I never wrote down the time. So when I wrote down the 15 times, I never wrote down the time. In my mind, maybe, but I never wrote it down. And for the entire 6 months, I never cared. I wrote it down, I wrote it down, I wrote it down. And suddenly, I hear this super interesting podcast about nutrition, about healthy mind, about certain ways of exercise. So this is absolutely absurd to explain that, but this is what happened. And my mind suddenly was like, you know what? This is what has always been missing for you, because there was a scientific reasoning that kept you from losing those extra 5 kilos. Because in your mind, you always said, you know what? It doesn't make much sense to lose 5 kilos. For what? You look good already. It's fit. So why lose the extra 5? But suddenly I had a scientific reasoning. And the reasoning had to do a lot with certain cancer cells, very, very scientific stuff. And suddenly this popped up in my mind. And I can give you 20 other examples that these things work. Write those things down. Just the writing makes you focus on those things. And for you, this might mean that you want to have a new job, a different job. For you, this might mean you want to have more success in your business. Maybe you have a clear goal that you want to achieve. I'm not kidding. Before I started releasing my book right now, I wrote down every single day. And if you talk to Bettina, you talk to someone, they will tell you. I wrote down, I, Julian, am an Amazon bestseller. I, Julian, am an Amazon bestseller. I wrote this down 15 times per day, and I'm still doing it. Why? Because I'm not saying I have to be it tomorrow. I'm not saying I have to be it by the end of the year. Maybe I'll be it in 10 years. I don't know. But so I'm so dedicated and committed that I'll do this. And I think this primes me for having the right path and finding certain things. There's, of course, some small other things you can do to really train your mind and focus on this. For example, change your password to something that you want to achieve. Small tip that changed my big life. My password is a goal that I want to achieve. Of course, it's not going to be just an easy sentence, but I can trick around a bit, add some numbers, for example. So it's literally unbreakable for someone. But to me, it's something I have to type in 20, 30, 40, 100 times a day. Think about it. Of course, pictures. If you could look at I show you you should see it. Here in the middle here of my screen, here is my book, and it is part of the Amazon bestseller list. So I photoshopped my book into the Amazon bestseller list. Why? Because I'm so committed to achieving this. And so I put this down. So every time I look there, this is what comes into my mind. Of course, you could have nice quotes. I'm sure you kind of understand. My trick to this is write down 15 times a day what you want to have. And I would have loved for med school to teach me that, because that has nothing to do with actually business. They could have taught me that in med school. They could have taught me, Julian, and back then I wanted to be a very good surgeon. They could have said, Julian, you want to be a good surgeon? Okay. Every day in the morning before you start uni, write down 15 times what you want to have. 15 times what you want to have. Well, they didn't teach me that. But I know today that it works. And so it starts with having a vision for where you want to go. This is important. It's a big vision for a direction. Of course, you could always break it down. And also with the biggest vision, that's what it says here. If you don't have a clear why, if you don't really want to do something, the biggest vision is not going to get you anywhere, because at the end, you have to be an action taker. If you don't take action, great. You just have nice pictures on your vision board, but nothing is going to happen. You have to take action. But many times, it takes the right little thing. Just for example, for me to really be committed about my weight, or for me back then to start business and suddenly make money to buy my Audi A7. These were all things where my mind was primed for it. So what are the challenges and beliefs? Of course, motivation to actually take action. At the same time, you might be listening to me right now and you're like, sure, vision board, who cares? Or writing something down 15 times a day, are you nuts? I got better stuff to do. Like what? Seriously, like what? Like changing your life? Like, to me, this was so important. I prioritized that over everything else. And of course, it comes with discipline. I mean, doing this 2 days in a row, that's great. Doing it 2 weeks in a row is already tough. Doing it 2 years, pooh. But that's what counts, right? That's what vision building is all about. And this is what gives you the success. So my call for action after the second chapter is, which one single most important goal? And goal here is not necessarily timed, right? I'm just saying, for its big vision. would you want to have and you're willing to do, and you want to write it down 15 times a day? Let me challenge you to this. Just do it until the end of the year. End of the year. That's 6 weeks from now. I don't know what it is. Stop smoking. Stop eating chocolate. Don't say you want to do it until the end of the year. Just commit on doing it, writing down until the end of the year. Just do that. And then think about 5 pictures you're going to add to your vision board. 5 pictures. I don't know what this is. So this is around you. So you see this, you look at it, and you get inspired by doing it. Combine the law of the average of 5 with proper vision building. I'm telling you, you are on a really, really great track. Any questions? Let me look over to Bettina. Okay. Stop sharing. We're going to look. One second. Cannot see the questions because it's reconnected. Can you tell me the question, because I cannot see it? I have to.
It's from the chapter before.
Patrick. Patrick, I saw your question. Sorry, I had to refresh, because if I'm out of the thing, then I have to refresh the page. So why 5 people? Probably it would work with 6. It would work with 4. Now, I'm not the person who did this extensive studying. Now, there's extensive studying being done with social interaction. It's a 20-80 rule, if you want to call it. If with 5 people, for example, that you spend a lot of time with 5 people, the 6th person normally drops. Now, of course, for you, if it's 6, might be, but the general law is, or the general rule is, that the 5 people you have, you spend really a majority of your time with, maybe even fewer. But even if I look for me today, right? So who are the people that I spend really a lot of time with? Now, I give you a quick tip, right? When I got into the blockchain technology 6 months ago, I had to find someone who was really, really great. And I found, for example, one in Hong Kong, and I found someone in Singapore. And with the person in Singapore, I'm talking to him at least once a week. With the person in Hong Kong as well. So I'm spending time with these people. Of course, my girlfriend, Bettina, we're working in the same company. We do everything together, so we spend a lot of time. If for you it's a bit different, might. So I just always believe the rule of 5 is pretty accurate. I think adding a 6th person, I just never managed to do it. I think also it's more of a mindset rather than an exact law. Hope that helps. Good question. Amount is specific enough, or do you think the vision should be more specific? Do you think making an amount of money is specific enough? I would, rather than the amount of money, I think an amount of money is, I mean, at the end of the day, right, money per se is not really relevant. It's the exchange value that money can give you in what you want. That's what's really, really relevant. So rather than saying, okay, I want to make $10,000 a month because for the sake of it, I don't know if that makes so much sense. I think it is really important. Why do you want to make 10,000, 5,000, 2,000 a month? For me back then, it was, that was just a reasoning. I wanted to make 100,000. And if you read the book, I will go very detailed into that. I wanted to make 100,000 US dollars in a year, 6 figures. And the reason was just, it was on the one hand status, but on the other hand, because I had a clear idea what I wanted to do with those 100,000. So Angela, for you, if this means, it's not about the exact amount of money, it's more of what you want, then this is what I would focus on rather than on a figure amount. Because at the end of the day, I mean, money is not worth anything as long as you cannot translate it into value, right? And so what you really have to think about is the value, not so much the numbers that are on the notes. Hope that helps. Good question. Good. Any other questions? Then I'll jump back. And great. We're going the last 15 minutes. That one is a bit easier. So really quick, screen share on. And of course, all of you, we have the entire presentation as a PDF. So if you go down, fill in your email below, then we'll send that to you, of course. So that's really, really easy. Then you have the whole summary. And we're going to have the replay up for 2 days. So then you can easily follow that. Great. So the last thing was scalable income. And scalable income, I want to tell you my story about this. When I did that, I was working as a medical doctor. And I told you I wanted to change over to doing something different. And the reason why I wanted to change over was because I didn't see myself having to work 70, 80 hours until the rest of my life, if I want to call it. And so I was looking for ways that I could still travel, be a professional kite surfer, but at the same time, having the opportunity to earn money at the same time. And so for those of you that dig a bit there, you learn certain things like, okay, there's active income, passive income. Well, I don't like those terms so much. I prefer terms like scalable income, non-scalable income. As a medical doctor, I was very clear on the non-scalable income side, and so I had to learn how scalable income works. And the sad thing to me was, especially as a medical doctor, and that is a bit upsetting even to me, you earn quite good money if you do a good job. But school never teaches you how you, as a medical doctor, and again, I only share my own experience, right? So I don't know what profession you are in. Maybe you learned how to deal with this. I never did. So I cannot tell you how a lawyer reacts to that because I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how a secretary reacts to that. I'm not a secretary. I don't know that, right? So I share my experience, and I hope you can identify yourself with certain things. So when I was a medical doctor, I had non-scalable income. What does that mean? It means I work and I get paid for the time I work. And I was working in a hospital, so I was employed. Some of you might be employed. My goal as a doctor was to become self-employed, have my own practice. I don't know if this is your goal to be self-employed, and we're not going to talk much about this. I just want to give you the clear ideas. What I would have loved to know was how to generate scalable income. And scalable income can be generated in two different ways. Either by bringing value to people through a service or by selling a product to these people. And the more people you can touch, the more money you make on the service or the more money you make on the product, the more money you earn. I'll give you an example in a second. The second option is you have money, you invest the money, and money generates more money, and that's how you earn money. So there's a couple of ways to do it, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to go quick back here. At the end, you could lay out scalable versus non-scalable in 7 different income streams, where income stream 1 is the non-scalable one, and that's the one I had. I don't know how many different ones you have. You can look a bit here. This is not, I had one income stream, that was number 1. The scalable ones, and now let's talk about the one where money generates money, would be either interest income, dividend income, real estate, or buy and sell income. Why? Let me explain to you. Interest, you use money, you give it to the bank pays you interest on it. At the moment with these low interest rates, it's not so relevant. You could try, and I'm going to talk a bit about in the book, actually, in the last chapter, you can read this. You can try peer-to-peer lending, for example, Lending Club in the US or Aux Money in Germany, or there's a lot of really, really good ones actually in all over the world. Peer-to-peer lending, that's really interesting. You get quite high interest rates. That's important. So you have money, generates money. I didn't learn that. I only thought, okay, as a medical doctor, I earn money non-scalable, put it on the bank, wait until I have enough money, buy my own house, that's it. So I never learned how to generate income out of those. So I would love to teach you a little bit. And of course, I don't give you investment advice here. I just tell you what I do and what I learned. And I would have loved for school to just give me this little PowerPoint so I could understand, hey, you know what? I would be totally interested in that. Where can I find out more? And I'll show you. The third income, the second scalable one, are dividends. Dividends are really simple. You own stocks. Now here's important. You don't own stocks because you want to increase the stocks in value. You own stocks because they pay you dividends. Now this is really important because if you buy stocks for them in hope to increase in value, you're gambling because you don't know if they go up or down. What's confirmed is a dividend, because if a stock pays dividend and they say they pay a dividend, you're going to be guaranteed a dividend. Of course, companies that can send out dividend, they can skip that, sure. But for example, one of the most famous investors, Warren Buffett, his strategy and strength was always to invest in great companies at a very good price that pay dividend and that keep paying a dividend for a long, long, long time. So he didn't care, or he doesn't care if money, the stocks go up and down. He just holds them and collects the dividend. So that was his profit. And when I learned about that 5 years ago, I followed the same system. After I lost 90,000 euros in the stock market, you can read about how dramatic that was. That was the only time in my life I almost killed myself because it was such a dramatic incident. The fourth income is real estate. Now, real estate has been one of them that I was always scared the most, simply because it has such a high transaction volume. And nobody actually properly taught me real estate until 1-2 years ago when I really started digging into it. I'm not going to go into detail, but you need to look at these things. And if there's one thing that piques your interest, then you need to start learning about this. So if you're here and you say, oh, wow, real estate, sure. Real estate, focus on yield. This is important. So don't buy real estate and speculate it goes up in value. That's speculation. Don't do that. You might win. Look, there's in California, in Hong Kong, in London. If you do that, you speculate, you win. I mean, there's people who make a lot of money. But guess what? It can also go easily the other way. Think of 2008. Poof, everything dropped. That's really, really difficult, okay? So real estate, focus on yield. Give you an example. I own real estate. My dad, it's his birthday, by the way, today. So that's really awesome. If you see him on Facebook, drop him a birthday message. My dad is like my property manager. He keeps track of all that. And now, of course, you might not have a dad who does that. You'll find someone. But that's really awesome. I mean, I'm in Hong Kong. He takes care of my property every month. I get money from rent. That's the best thing. And, you know, if I would have known that 10 years earlier, probably today I would own 10 times more property, just because that's like exponential growth. So that's really important. And the last one that comes into buying and selling, or actually bringing a service, is buy and sell. What does that mean? You buy something and then you sell it at a higher margin. There's two really important tips, and please do this. I lost 90,000 euros. Now, for some of you, 90,000 euros is nothing. For me, 90,000 euros still is, and back then was a lot of money. I bought something without understanding the actual value that I was buying. So first thing, buy stuff that you understand what you're buying. I bought property in Brazil. I had no clue about property in Brazil. I got cheated over, and you know what? Poof, 90,000 euros, gone. Why? Because I didn't know what I was buying. So if you're buying stocks, if you're investing into wine, into diamonds, into gold, and you're not 1,000,000% sure that you're getting a good deal, and I'm not talking about someone on the internet writing, hey, this is the best deal you'll ever get. No, the best deal ever, then you are running risk that you are not making a profit on this. So what does this mean? If I buy something today, for example, I buy something in China, and then I can export that to Europe, I'm like 99% sure that I can sell it at a better price in Europe. And I tell you why. Because in Europe, certain things are just not available at that price. And large companies, they use that scale all the time. If you look into the US, what does Walmart do? They do that. You as an individual, you cannot get groceries or anything at that price as Walmart does. So they are like 99% sure to make a profit. This is a huge example, but you can do this in the small as well. If you're gambling, you run risk. If you make the money on a buy, you pretty much win. There's a lot of topics on all these things. So write down those things that are the most interesting to you. And we have a comment box on the bottom. If you want to have more detail in one of those, I know really great people as well who are experts in those fields. So if, for example, you say, you know what, I would love to hear more about real estate, then I wouldn't do the topic myself. I would reach out to someone that I know really well who's an expert in real estate, and then have him come on as a guest, because that gives a lot more value to you, I think. So it's really more of an overview. I've learned from some of the best people, and I just want to pass on these simple ideas. The last two are the business side, where you deliver value to people. And this is scalable because none of these things are related to time. So what does this mean? If you're a good singer, if you're a good book writer, if you're a good artist, if you are an inventor, you can set something up, sell this over and over again, sell a song over and over again, and a patent over and over again, and every single time you make money. If you watch Shark Tank, you always have Kevin, Mr. Wonderful, who's such a licensing person. And the reason why he's such a licensing person is very, very easy to understand. He is really, really smart. And the reason why he wants the licensing deal is because a licensing deal, he doesn't run risk that he has to sell at a higher level afterwards. So he licenses this because he makes money every month from the licensing, and he doesn't have to risk gambling for a price increase. You understand what I mean? So the smartest people in the world, they use these income streams. So if they use it, you should do it too. And the last is the hardest one, but it's of course the one that could make you a billionaire. The other ones to become a billionaire is really, really difficult. But in the seventh one, to become a billionaire is with a big business. So you have a business within a value, we call this equity. For example, you start your own corporation. Now, what I did, want to be really straightforward, was I was still working as a medical doctor, so I had non-scalable income. I used that income to invest into number 2, number 3, 4 came a lot later, and I did number 5 with the expertise that I had. So I used that income and moved it down. At the same time back then, I was writing a book about kite surfing. Any one of you can write a book, I'm sure, even if it's just an ebook for 15 pages. Any one of you could do it. If you're a singer, I'm not a singer, you could try the same, YouTube and so on. And there's many, many good opportunities in business without going into detail here. If you're interested in one of those, either leave me a comment in the very bottom so that we can cover this in the future, or write it down for future reference so you can dig more into this. Now, if you're listening to that, I am not talking down on non-scalable income. I'm not talking up on scalable one. I would have just loved to be taught in college. And I went to good college. I went to good universities. So I don't understand why they couldn't have taught us. Listen, guys, you're going to become a medical doctor. Most of you are going to make good money. So why don't you use that money in a smart way so that over time you can really build non-scalable scalable income where you don't have to work for money anymore, but money is coming in from different sources. And that's what I would have loved to have. So that's why it is my third thing on this list, and I would love to pass this on to you. So the advantages are this. Non-scalable income, you trade time for dollars. Scalable income, you don't trade time for dollars because you either make money from a service or a product, or because money makes money. Of course, reliable and predictability, many times the non-scalable is a bit more straightforward because you know how much money you're making every month. So when the scalable way, it can be sometimes up and down. And that's what's the scary part. It's the not so much straightforward, it's the knowledge side, right? So that's why so many people would love to have scalable income, maybe also you, but you just don't know how to do it, or you're a bit scared how to do it. So here are my very straightforward tips, very straightforward. The first thing is, who are the 5 people around you and how do they make their income? Ta-da! If they make non-scalable income, chances are you are making non-scalable income. So if you want scalable income, hang around more people with scalable income. What does this mean? Let me jump back. That means people who make money from interest, from dividends, from real estate, from buying and selling, have royalties, have written books, run huge businesses. Hang around people, and trust me, 1,000,000%, you're gonna start doing this as well because you feel awkward. If everyone around you makes non-scalable income, you feel well because it's great being around like-minded people. But if suddenly you're around people who are like, you know what, I work 100 hours a day because I'm building my business right now and I do this, I build my online business, have mailing lists and so on. Suddenly you're like, what? Okay, holy, I'm the only one here who works 40 hours in my job and then I go home and then I watch TV or YouTube and that's it? No, you start feeling awkward. So that's so important. Look at the people around you. Look who you're following in social media. Are you following other entrepreneurs? People who have the mindset of building scalable income streams? Well, that's great. Read books. You can buy books so cheap. If you read my book, The 25 Stories I Would Tell Your Younger Self, gosh, I'm telling you, there's so much value bombs in there that go exactly into this field. And I know some of you have actually read the book already. And so you will see that there's so great things in there. But there's so many other really, really wonderful books that talk about entrepreneurship, about how to get started, about all these things. Of course, for those of you that want to invest a little bit, go into the courses, buy some courses, go into a mastermind group. For example, I'm in a mastermind group. I pay $200 a month where I'm in a group of like-minded people. So imagine, I pay money to be around the 5, to have my average of 5 really, really high. I pay money for that. Imagine, right? So this is the crazy part because I know how valuable this is. And actually, it's a lot more valuable than the $200 a month. And if you want to spend a lot of money, then get a coach. Then you have a person that's really, really close to you and raises your level by a lot. So the challenge is, well, it all sounds easy, so all sounds good, but if you don't really want to do it, you're not going to do it. Be careful of scams out there. The getting rich quick schemes, you can get rich quick, but it's not going to come without much work. So don't think just because something promises you to get rich quick is impossible. That's not true. It's about how much work do you put in. I just have never seen something where you don't have to put in a lot of work, but you can get rich quick. I made a lot of money. I made a lot of money quick, but you know what? It cost me 100 hours a week, of course. But then that's how it is in anything, right? So look for things where you can scale, where you have the potential of scalable income, but understand it comes with a lot of effort. And don't underestimate the power of average of the 5. So my last call for action before I go into questions, do you want scalable income? If yes, which one of the 6, the first one is non-scalable, do you want to know first? Don't start with all of them, start with one. Learn about it, read books, watch smart YouTube videos, hang around people who have this income already, and then learn and grow step by step. Awesome. We go into the questions, and we are already pretty at the end, actually. So we're going to go into the questions right now. Let me reconnect really quick. Good. Let me just refresh the page. I think I missed maybe something before. Let me scroll up a bit. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good question. So I had the same thing, Robert. So I had so the question from Robert was, if I have different goals, so let's say one is lifestyle, the other one goes into relationship, the other one goes into money, the other one goes into traveling, the other one goes into my job. Let's say I have 15 different goals. Now I have the same, right? So I have a list of probably 25 things that I would love to have, right? My tip for you is this. It's more important to really filter out this thing that is the most important to you, or that gives you the most traction at the moment, and then write this thing down 15 times. That's what I do. So for me at the moment, it's my book, right? The other things I have on my vision board, and what I really do, and I can show that to you, is I really go to my vision board and I look at all the things on there, and I really look at them clearly and say them out, but I don't do it 15 times a day. So this doesn't take me like an hour a day. It takes me 5 minutes to write down the 15 things, and then it takes me around 5 minutes max to really go there, look at the things and say, okay, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. And I just look at those. I think that's really a good, so write down those 15 times that you really want. And the other things, it just takes too long. At the end, that's a burden. I hope that helps to answer your questions. Otherwise, let me know. Great, Angela, stocks and yield. Okay, that's really great. Buy and sell. Okay, can you do me a favor, both of you, Angela and Thomas? So both of you are interested, especially in the financing thing. Could you drop me a message below, because we are collecting all those. We're gonna make a list. And so that would be really, really nice, I think, for the future. So if you scroll down a bit, let us know what topic would you like to see. Just drop me a quick email, because then I can easier collect them, because the chat sometimes gets a bit overview. But I've marked it down now, but it would be still good. So yield, stocks, interesting. I love that topic, actually. It's one of my most famous ones. Buy and sell. Ooh, I love that, Thomas. Great. Yeah, that's really good. Big business within a value. Yeah, so I see also the 7 income streams. We could definitely do a webinar on that, and then I would love to introduce some real estate stuff. Dominic, real estate, so if you are in English, okay, so I do a lot of real estate in English. I can give you a resource for that straight away. Go to Bigger Pockets. So bigger, like bigger, let me write that in, biggerpockets.com. I'm actually part of their core group. So they are really, really great. So go there, biggerpockets.com. They are, really nice. And one thing I always do is I start with podcasts, because podcasts in some way, they're always a bit more structured than if you go on a website. So I start with their podcast. I hope that helps. There, good. So we are getting to the end. I don't know if there's any more questions. Otherwise, I have some seconds at the end if you do. Let me quickly finish this up by what? So share this, get started. Wonderful. So you all know, and this is, so I don't do a webinar today. Like you probably know that many people do webinars where they do an upsell where you can buy a course or something. I don't do that today, so it's not my interest. I would just love you guys. Please download my free ebook. the link is Genius/25 Stories. It's on Amazon. And the other things are 3 things. Please download it. If you like it, drop me a review on there. I think that would be so, so wonderful. Drop me a review. And the third thing, maybe you have a couple of people that you would love to share this with. Maybe share this webinar. You're going to get the link. So maybe share this replay. It's a lot of value. I think that would be so nice. Important is this, right? So on Tuesday, the 17th, the price is going to go up to $2.99 of the book. So that's pretty clear. We're not going to have a free sale anymore. We just do this right now because I really want to, all the people that have been helping me, I want to give this to them. And my book has been 8 months of work, 9 months of work. And from Tuesday to 24th, the price is going to be to the regular price. December 1st, we're going to have the physical book. So then you can order the physical book. For those of you that want the physical book, the price is going to be the same price. So it's in dollars, euros, and pounds. It's going to be the same. You can order it globally. I think it's a really wonderful Christmas gift. So if you want to do me a gift and send this gift to someone, that would be really nice. And of course, if I'm around, I would love to sign it or let you know. That would be really, really nice. Give you a bit of a preview. Next Sunday, we have another webinar. We're going to do this now on a really regular basis, simply because I've done this in the past. In the last 6 months, I haven't done it, and I was really missing it a bit, the regular webinars. So next Sunday, we're going to have a webinar that is, okay, the 3 crucial skills if you want to start your own business, okay? So I have identified and really identified the 3 crucial skills for me that from a non-business background, what did I need to learn to have my own business? It's going to be the same time as today. I hope, Angela, that's okay for you. I know you have the worst time because it's really early in the morning, but there's no other way around. Because if I do it in Hong Kong on a different time, then Europe is really screwed. And like this, it's North America is in the morning, Europe is early afternoon, and here Hong Kong is late evening. So of course, we're going to record it. If you are just watching the recording, then you cannot ask questions or give feedback. So that is the idea. I would love to get some feedback. Post this below simply to understand which topics you want to have. I've seen some of them. Bettina's noted them down. Thanks so much for all that. From December 1st to 25th, we're going to do every day 1 story. So we're not going to do webinars. That would take too long. I'm just going to do quick video shootouts. So you guys that have the book, you can all get it for free now. Then you can walk through, and I'm going to give you some insights with all the stories. You will see, I think they're going to resonate really well. 2016, I have really big goals, and I mean real goals. Vision, yes, but the vision wasn't there, and I have clear goals. So we're going to really scale that thing up. I have some really nice ideas, so get ready. And for those of you that speak German, we also, of course, going to go into my mother's tongue German next year, where we're going to add some German there. So that's going to be really exciting. So at the end, guys, I want to tell you thank you so, so much for being on. You are awesome. Thanks for sharing all the stuff on Facebook. I need that so bad right now. So if you want to help me, if you want to give back to me, that would be so great. If you could share something on Facebook, let people know to download the book for free. That would be so great. And follow us, connect with us. That's it from my side. Download the book. It's free, only until Monday evening. And with this, guys, have a wonderful